Right, good morning. I just want to show you how we can get from a simply adapted bodice or the basic pattern to the simply adapted bodice. This is a crop top, and I'm going to go through the various steps as I think we should to be able to understand it. So this is a view. In other words, this is how the back is supposed to look when you are finished, supposed to look when you are finished, and this is how the front will look. This is the back, this is the front. Now, I'm not expecting anybody to do anything different. But if anyone in the class think they are able to do their own style, you are free to do so. As long as it's a neckline, armhole, no sleeve, and an opening somewhere, either in the back or the front. But I'm going to accept something like this, but I'm going to go through all the steps to show you how this can be achieved according to the basic draft that you would have done of your personal, with your personal measurements. So after you're finished with your draft, it should look somewhat like this. This is the back. This is like half scale, but with your own, it will depend on your body shape and so on, but it should have a general appearance like this. If it doesn't, then it is something wrong. Just remember that. And this is what the front would look like. So you notice the back would have just one contour dart. The front will have a dart shape at the shoulder and a contour dart, as you're seeing here, of the basic personal draft. If you have done this successfully and you reach this point, then you are ready for adaptation. Okay, to start the adaptation, using the same draft that you have, your personal draft. And then you will, remember it's a crop top. So this is the end of where your bodice will stop at the waistline. They're going to be using a full contour dart. You'll be using just the upper area, which is going to be the plain dart pattern. And you go to this point. This is the center back line. This point is the center back. You go straight up, center back neckline area, and you may have to do a little bit of adjustment to get the correct width for your shoulder. So I just did this to show you, well, if when you look at your shoulder measurement is saying like 14 centimeters, that's a little bit too wide. It's best to bring it down to about 10, 12 centimeters on the shoulder. And then you shape it back to your armhole. If your armhole look a little bit too shallow, you can even deepen it a little bit to get a nice design, a nice shape. And then, as you see here, you notice this here, a nice shape, curved. It's all curves. In this area, it's curved by the neckline, but the center back, straight line down to the waist. Side seam, straight line shaping into the waist. Now this point at the waist area, you will have to remeasure your waist and be able to determine how much it's supposed to be. Say for example, my waist is, let's say 80 centimeters. I know it's more than that, but let's say it's 80. So here to here should be about 20, 22 on the pattern. Let's say it's 22 centimeters. So you take your measuring tape and measure from this point to here. It has to be 22 plus this space, which is your dart space. So let's say this is 4 centimeters. So in the end, when you measure from here to here, it should be 26 to give it a nice comfy fit at the waistline. Now, I know some of you may not want a crop top, but we're doing this for the marks. We're doing it because I'm not here to guide you for anything more complicated. As long as you can do this successfully by following this information here, you're okay. And you will get whatever marks you deserve. And you'll have a basic understanding of how to make a bodice, because that's the general aim. A basic understanding how to draft and make a bodice. So I'm not really dumbing down the program. I'm just making it easier for all of us to work together. You get that, right? So that's the back area we work on. So this part here we're ignoring. Now you see this line here, we draw here. This is for the facing. This is going to be a facing referred to as the all-in-one facing. It means then that we cut in a facing, we're facing the neckline and armhole in one. I will send you that information also. When you get the other information on constructing the bodice, you will see some photos related to how to do the construction of the bodice with this type of facing. So you have to cut a piece, a pattern piece that looks like this part up here. And you're using this to draft that pattern. You can either use this one or the very last. This is the working pattern. You see, working pattern. So we could use this to draft this facing, or we're using this to draft it, or we're using the very last one. So it should look like this. So we're drafting it on this. So when we're satisfied that this is the way how you want it to be, you notice that I'm putting in other markings there. I'm putting in this little mark here, which is for the notch. This notch has to be placed exactly the same distance from the edge of the bodice to match the front of the bodice as well. We have to have notching at the shoulder. We have notching here, but it's not shown here, but it's going to be shown on the final piece. We have notches at the neckline. No notch here because here is the center back. There is no seam there. If you remember your style, there is no seam in the center back. So in the end, we have to acknowledge this. So this is how we're going to work on this particular aspect of the drafting. We're working on the final piece. We haven't reached there yet. The front is a little more complex. So if you look at the front, you will see several things happening. Now you know the opening is in the front. So here what I'm showing you here now. This is where the pattern stops, right along this line here. However, because there's an opening, we have to extend it a little bit more to create what we refer to as the overlap and underlap. So from here to here is 1.5 centimeters. So in the end, when we extend it beyond the center front, 1.5 deeper down, straight down, and we continue to draft. Now you notice the original pattern did not have this. To get this dart here, I have to close off the shoulder dart. You see I closed it. See that closed? And when it's closed, here opens to create this dart here. You may notice you may decide that the dart is a little bit too wide. You can make it smaller. This dart should be no more than 3 centimeters total. Just at the bust point. This is just at the bust point. You notice it's not right on the tip of the nipple perhaps area. It just goes a little bit before to create a nice tapering effect. So if you just follow the idea of what I'm showing you, it shouldn't be difficult to do. And again, you notice I'm putting notches, armhole, shoulder, neckline. Here's the opening. And this notch here will be the same distance as for the back of the garment, as you would have seen here. See? After that, the final pattern now should look somewhat like this. Now I neglected to do the facing for the front on that working pattern, but I could do it here. That's a big deal because I'm not changing anything on the pattern itself. I'm just creating the facing shape on this final piece because the facing has to be exactly the shape of this area. It's an all-in-one facing. It's the same measurements you're using. In other words, if from here to here is 6 centimeters on the bodice, here to here has to be the same 6 centimeters on the facing. You can't chinks, you can't cheat. If you do that, any kind of cheating, you will not get a decent fitting bodice or a decent looking. Let's forget about the fit at this point. I'm not marking you on fit. So you notice that I'm putting back all the notching marks. Keep on putting them for every stage you reach. and the darts. So in the end, it should look something like this. Similar to the original, but except that I'm stopping it at the waistline and the same length as the back. So this is how the back and the front in the working pattern is supposed to look. Well, this is the working pattern. This one's a working pattern. This one is the final pattern. The final pattern for the back is like this. You notice I put in the facing so that you can see that the facing is exactly the same shape. It's referred to as an all-in-one, and when you look at it, you'll see a combination facing. When I show you my information, it's a combination facing. It's going to tell you it is the same thing. All-in-one combination is the same thing. So your final pattern should look like this, and the facing pieces, when you cut them out, supposed to look like this. Now, if you look at the front, you see the facing, how it doesn't go right down for the front. Look at it here. It doesn't go right down for the front. It starts where when they fold this back, it will end. When you fold this piece back, it ends here. Because in the end, you have to join this piece here of the fabric to this piece here. So that is why the facing stops short. In other words, it basically stops short of 5 centimeters from this point. The facing is here, here, and this is the edge of the, you see this piece here? It's called the extension. That's why you're folding back to be able to create the bodice. In the end, you will have the facing pieces, which should look like this. When you take your time and get the exact measurements, make sure it's all matching back to everything else. Make sure you name the pattern pieces properly. Make sure you put your markings. And very lastly, before I tie off this, when you have to lay your pattern pieces, this is how you can lay them. Remembering, if you're folding along the length of the fabric, this is where the selvage is going to be, that's where the fold is going to be. And according to the size of your pattern, you may be able to put 2 pieces side by side, or they may have to go one down to the other, one down after the other. If you look at this one, the back, it has to go on the fold, as you see there. Now these could go elsewhere, remembering also to follow the grain line to ensure that the pattern is placed in the correct direction. And when you look at the other information that I'm going to send to you, you will see after you reach this point, you know how to cut out. You add the seam allowances, 2 centimeters right around. The hem allowance for the bodice will be 5 centimeters, which is here. And then you cut it out, and then you put your pattern markings or your seam line using your tracing wheel and carbon paper to mark on the seam line. Try your best to mark the notches as well. So when you have to match the seam lines, you're matching on the notches. The other information I'm going to send to you on my e-learning will give you some pretty good explanation as how after you cut it out, the other stages to follow in the construction. I hope this is helpful, students. It's not that difficult. It's, just go brave, follow yourself, follow your mind, and everything will be okay. All I want to see is a well-constructed bodice, following the information I give you. You can't do more than what you are given. Just take your time, and we will see. You can always ask me, you can always question me during the process. But miss, something happened, miss, it's okay. At this point, I will take all questions, any questions at any time, except when I'm sleeping at night. You're good. You can do it.